The alien ships appeared without warning at the edge of human space. They came in formation, 50 massive vessels that blocked out the stars. Each ship was 3 times larger than Earth's biggest battle cruiser. Their hulls gleamed with strange metal that shifted colors under the distant sun's light. Admiral Ji-hoon stood on the bridge of the EDS Defiance, staring at the display screen. He was 53 years old with gray hair and tired eyes. He had served in the Earth Defense Fleet for 30 years, but he had never seen anything like this. "Sir, they're broadcasting a message," said the communications officer. "Put it through," Ji-hoon said. The screen filled with an alien face. The creature had 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern and skin that looked like polished stone. Its mouth moved in strange ways when it spoke, but the translation came through clearly. "I am High Commander Vectis of the Hecarian Dominion. Your species is now aware of the greater galaxy. You will submit to our rule. You have 72 hours to surrender, resist, and we will take what we want by force." The transmission ended. Ji-hoon's hands gripped the edge of his command console. "Get me, Ambassador Yuna." Now, across the solar system, Captain Nari was running drills on her ship, the Indomitable. She was only 32, the youngest frigate captain in the fleet. When the alert came through, she was in the middle of a weapons test. "Captain, priority message from Fleet Command," her first officer said. Nari read the message twice. "Alien contact. Hostile intent. All ships to rally at Neptune's orbit. Cancel the drills," she said. "Set course for Neptune. Maximum speed." Her crew moved quickly. They had trained for this day, though none of them had believed it would actually come. Humanity had only discovered faster-than-light travel 15 years ago. They had explored 20 systems and found nothing but empty planets and asteroid fields. Now, suddenly, they were not alone. Ambassador Yuna arrived at the fleet staging area 8 hours later. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and a reputation for tough negotiations. She had ended 3 corporate wars and brokered the Mars Independence Treaty. But this was different. "They won't even talk to us," she told Ji-hoon in his ready room. "I've sent 12 messages. No response. They see us as primitives." "Can you buy us more time?" Ji-hoon asked. "I can try. But Ji-hoon, I've been reading the reports. These Hecarians have conquered 200 star systems. They have weapons we don't understand. If it comes to a fight, we'll lose," Ji-hoon finished. "I know. That's why you need to keep them talking." Yuna left to try again. Ji-hoon turned to his other problem. Dr. Hyun arrived an hour later. He was younger than Ji-hoon expected, maybe 40, with oil stains on his uniform and wild hair. He carried a data pad covered in technical diagrams. "Admiral, I heard you wanted to see me," Hyun said. "Your railgun project," Ji-hoon said. "Tell me it works." Hyun's face lit up. "The Mark 7? It works beautifully. We've run simulations. A tungsten slug accelerated to 4% light speed will punch through anything." "Have you tested it?" "On asteroids, yes." "On actual ships?" Hyun hesitated. The Fleet Command wouldn't fund live tests. They said railguns were outdated technology. Ji-hoon laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Outdated? How many do we have?" 40 platforms installed on capital ships. Another 30 on the defense stations around Neptune. "We can install more if you give me time." "You have 72 hours, Ji-hoon said. "Use them." The next day, Yuna finally got her meeting. High Commander Vectis appeared on the communication channel. But he was not alone. Behind him stood a dozen other Hecarians, all wearing elaborate armor. "Ambassador," Vectis said, "have you come to surrender?" "I've come to negotiate," Yuna replied. "Humanity is willing to establish trade relationships. We can offer." "We do not trade with primitives," Vectis interrupted. "Your species barely understands hyperspace travel. You use chemical rockets and kinetic weapons. You are children playing with tools you don't understand." Yuna kept her voice calm. "We may be young, but we are not weak, and we will not surrender without a fight." Vectis made a sound that might have been laughter. "A fight?" Let me show you what happens to those who fight the Dominion. Vectis made a sound, a fight the Dominion. The screen changed. It showed a mining station at the edge of human space, one of the automated facilities that processed asteroid ore. A Hecarian ship fired a single shot. The station exploded in a ball of fire that lit up the darkness. That was a warning, Vectis said. Your weapons cannot harm us. Our shields can absorb any energy attack. Our armor is impenetrable. We have fought wars against species far more advanced than yours. You have one choice. Submit or die. The channel closed. Yuna returned to the Defiance. She found Ji-hoon in the war room, surrounded by tactical displays. He won't negotiate, she said. I know, Ji-hoon replied. I watched the transmission. Did you see their ships? What about them? Ji-hoon pointed to a freeze-frame image on the screen. Look at the hull. That's not just armor. They've layered it. Triple thickness at least. Hyun ran an analysis. They're so confident in their defenses that they've made their ships heavier. Is that good for us? Maybe, Ji-hoon said. If Hyun is right about the railguns, Captain Nari attended the fleet briefing 12 hours before the deadline. Every ship captain in the defense fleet was there, their faces appearing on individual screens around the war room. The enemy fleet consists of 50 battlecruisers and 200 destroyers, Ji-hoon explained. They'll advance in a standard assault formation. They expect us to use missiles and energy weapons. They expect their shields and armor to protect them. Sir, one captain asked, what are our orders? Ji-hoon looked at each face on the screens. We hold the line at Neptune. We do not retreat. We do not surrender. And we show them that humans don't give up. No matter the odds. Nari felt her heart pound. She had joined the fleet to explore the stars, not to fight a war. But looking at Ji-hoon's determined face, she knew there was no other choice. The final hours passed quickly. Ships took their positions. Crews ran last-minute checks. Dr. Hyun moved from ship to ship, personally inspecting each railgun platform. On the bridge of the Defiance, Ji-hoon watched the clock count down. Around him, his crew worked in focused silence. They all knew what was coming. When the deadline reached 0, the Hecarian fleet began to move. They advanced slowly, confidently, like predators approaching cornered prey. Ji-hoon opened a channel to all ships. This is Admiral Ji-hoon. In a few minutes, we're going to show these aliens that humanity doesn't scare easily. Hold your positions. Trust your training. And remember, we're not just fighting for Earth, we're fighting for every human colony, every space station, every person who ever looked up at the stars and dreamed of what was out there. He closed the channel and turned to his weapons officer. Lieutenant Taeyang, status on the railguns? Charged and ready, sir. Good, Ji-hoon said. Now we wait for them to get close enough. The Hecarian fleet drew nearer, their massive ships filling the view screens. In the command chair, Ji-hoon allowed himself a small smile. The aliens thought their armor would save them. They were about to learn how wrong they were. High Commander Vectis stood in the strategy chamber of his flagship, studying the holographic display of human defenses. Around him, his advisors pointed at various tactical elements and discussed the upcoming battle. The humans have positioned their fleet in a defensive sphere around the 8th planet, said Dax Kor, the fleet strategist. 63 warships total. Primitive design. Weak energy signatures. Vectis circled the display. What about their weapons? Missiles with chemical propulsion. Laser arrays that barely qualify as military grade. And kinetic weapons, essentially metal projectiles fired by electromagnetic acceleration. Dax Kor's 4 eyes showed amusement. The same technology we abandoned 4,000 years ago. Another advisor spoke up. Commander, perhaps we should exercise caution. Unknown species can be unpredictable. Vectis turned sharply. Unpredictable? We have conquered 197 species. We have fought wars that lasted centuries. These humans have been in space for less than one of our generations. What can they possibly do that we haven't seen before? The advisor said nothing more. Vectis pulled up another display. It showed recent battle footage from the war against the Virillion Collective. Plasma weapons fired at full power struck Hecarian shields and armor. The ships absorbed the punishment with minimal damage. "We upgraded our armor specifically for the Virillions," Vectis said. "Their plasma cannons were the most powerful energy weapons in this sector. Our new composite shielding disperses energy across the entire hull surface. Our triple-layer armor can withstand direct hits from weapons 10 times more powerful than anything the humans possess." Daxkor nodded enthusiastically. "The humans don't even have plasma technology. Their lasers are weak, their missiles are slow, and their kinetic weapons." He made a dismissive gesture. "Commander, kinetic weapons are useless against modern shields. The impact energy dissipates across the shield matrix. Even if a projectile somehow penetrated the shield, it would bounce off our armor." Vectis studied the human fleet positions again. "What about their tactical formation? Defensive? Scared? They've clustered around their orbital platforms. Classic behavior of an inferior force, trying to maximize their limited firepower." Daxkor highlighted several human ships. "These smaller vessels here, they call them frigates. Minimal armor. They'll be destroyed in the first exchange. Their larger ships have slightly better protection, but nothing that concerns us." Far from the Hecarian command ship, Commander Minho piloted the research vessel Horizon through the darkness of space. His ship was small, designed for stealth and observation rather than combat. Its hull was coated with materials that absorbed sensor scans. Minho had been tracking the Hecarian fleet since they arrived in human space. He stayed at the edge of sensor range, watching, recording, analyzing. His crew consisted of 5 scientists and 1 tactical officer, Ensign Sora, a young woman with a gift for spotting patterns. "Commander, I've finished analyzing the shield frequencies," Sora said. She looked tired. She had been working for 20 hours straight. "What did you find?" Minho asked. Sora brought up her data on the main screen. "The Hecarian shields operate on rotating harmonic frequencies. They're designed to absorb and dissipate energy by spreading it across the shield surface. It's actually brilliant technology. But they're optimized entirely for energy weapons. Look at the frequency patterns. They're perfect for absorbing laser strikes, plasma bolts, particle beams, anything that delivers energy over time." Minho leaned forward. "What about kinetic impacts?" Sora's fingers moved across her console. "That's what's interesting. Shields like this don't handle sudden, massive kinetic force very well. They're designed to spread energy, not absorb momentum. A fast-moving physical object doesn't give the shield time to disperse the impact. And their armor? That's even better," Sora said with a slight smile. "They've layered their hull plating. 3 separate layers of composite armor. It's extremely effective against energy weapons, because each layer can absorb heat, but kinetic impacts." She pulled up a simulation. "Watch what happens when a high-velocity projectile hits layered armor." The simulation showed a tungsten slug hitting the armor at tremendous speed. The first layer crumpled. The second layer transferred the kinetic energy inward. The third layer acted like a conductor, spreading the shock wave throughout the ship's structure. "The armor doesn't stop the energy," Sora explained. "It channels it. The ship essentially tears itself apart from the inside." Minho stared at the simulation. "Send this to Admiral Jihun immediately. Mark it Priority 1. Back in the Hecarian fleet, Vectis received a report from his engineering division. The chief engineer appeared on his communication screen. "Commander, we've detected unusual electromagnetic signatures from some of the human vessels. We believe they're railgun systems, magnetic accelerators for metal projectiles." "Railguns?" Vectis said. "Are you certain?" "Yes, Commander. Quite primitive, really. They use magnetic coils to accelerate solid ammunition. Based on the energy readings, we estimate they can fire projectiles at perhaps 2 to 3% light speed." Vectis considered this. "What do you recommend?" "As a precaution, Commander, we could reinforce the forward armor on our battle cruisers. Add an additional plating layer. It would slow us slightly, but it would guarantee complete protection against any kinetic weapons." "Do it," Vectis ordered. I want every ship in the fleet upgraded before we advance. The engineer nodded. It will take approximately 15 hours, Commander. You have 10, Vectis said, and closed the channel. Daxcor looked pleased. An excellent decision, Commander. With the extra armor, we'll be completely invulnerable to their attacks. Aboard the Defiance, Dr. Hyun stood in the main weapons lab, running final calculations. Admiral Ji-hoon stood beside him, watching the numbers scroll across multiple screens. The Hekarians are adding more armor, Ji-hoon said. Our scouts confirmed it 3 hours ago. Hyun's eyes lit up. They're adding more armor? That's perfect. Perfect? How is that perfect? Hyun pulled up his own simulation. Admiral, do you understand how kinetic energy works? The formula is simple. Energy equals 1/2 mass times velocity squared. Our railguns can fire a 10-kilogram tungsten slug at 40,000 kilometers per second. That's 4% the speed of light. He pointed at the numbers. The kinetic energy of one slug is equivalent to a 5-megaton nuclear explosion. And that energy has to go somewhere. Energy shields designed for laser weapons can't dissipate kinetic momentum. They're not built for it. And armor. Armor is even worse. 2. Ji-hoon frowned. Explain. Armor is solid. When a high-velocity projectile hits solid armor, the kinetic energy transfers through the material. The denser and heavier the armor, the more efficiently it conducts that energy throughout the ship's structure. It's like ringing a bell with a hammer. A bigger, heavier bell rings louder. Hyun brought up a simulation similar to Sora's. A tungsten slug struck a Hekarian battlecruiser. The armor didn't stop the slug, it let the kinetic energy pass through. The shock wave propagated through the ship's frame, tearing apart bulkheads, rupturing power systems, crushing crew compartments. The more armor they add, the worse it gets for them, Hyun said quietly. They think they're making themselves safer. They're actually creating the perfect conditions for catastrophic failure. Ji-hoon watched the simulation 3 times. How many ships can we destroy? With 40 railgun platforms? If we aim well? All of them. That's not possible. Hyun met his eyes. Admiral, they're using physics from 4,000 years ago. We're using physics that doesn't change. Newton's laws still work. Kinetic energy still transfers, and armor still conducts shockwaves. They've spent centuries fighting energy weapons. They've forgotten what happens when something solid hits you really, really fast. Ji-hoon was quiet for a long moment. Then he smiled. They think we're primitive. Yes, sir. They think kinetic weapons are outdated. Yes, sir. Good, Ji-hoon said. Let them keep thinking that. Don't send any technical data on the railguns through any channels that might be intercepted. Let them believe we're desperate. Let them add all the armor they want. Hyun nodded. And when they get close, then we show them that sometimes the old ways are the best ways. The Hekarian fleet completed its armor upgrades. Every ship now carried an additional layer of composite plating. The engineers ran tests and confirmed that the armor could withstand plasma weapons 3 times more powerful than anything the Virillians had used. Vectis inspected the final reports with satisfaction. His fleet was invincible. The humans would fire their primitive weapons. The weapons would fail. And then the Dominion would claim another conquest. All ships, prepare to advance. Vectis ordered. Standard assault formation. Shields at maximum. We'll destroy their defense platforms first. Then their ships. Then their orbital stations. Any human vessel that surrenders will be spared. The rest will be debris. The Hekarian fleet began to move, a wall of armored death advancing on the human defensive line. In the command centers of 50 battlecruisers, Hekarian commanders reviewed their targeting priorities. In the weapons bays, energy cannons charged. In the crew quarters, soldiers prepared for the easy victory they had been promised. None of them understood what was about to happen. None of them realized that their armor, their pride, their protection, their guarantee of invincibility was about to become their death sentence. The deadline expired at exactly 1400 hours. Earth Standard Time. Across human space, people watched their screens with fear. In the cities of Earth, millions gathered in public squares. On Mars and the colony stations, Families held each other tight. Everyone knew what was coming. On the bridge of the Defiance, Admiral Ji-hun sat perfectly still in his command chair. Around him, his crew worked in silence. Every screen showed the advancing Hekarian fleet. 250 alien warships moving in perfect formation, their hulls reflecting the distant light of Neptune. Distance to engagement range? Ji-hun asked quietly. 600,000 kilometers in closing, replied the tactical officer. Current speed. 0.2 light speed. They'll reach optimal weapons range in 12 minutes. Captain Nari stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, her hands gripping the edges of her command console. Her ship was positioned on the left flank of the human formation. Through the view screen, she could see the alien ships growing larger. Captain, they're massive, her first officer whispered. Each of their battle cruisers is the size of our orbital stations. Size doesn't matter if they can't hit us, Nari said, trying to sound confident. But her mouth was dry. She had never been in combat before. None of them had. The Earth Defense Fleet had trained for this moment. But training and reality were very different things. All crews to battle stations, she ordered. Charge weapons. Prepare missile tubes 1 through 6. Her crew moved quickly, each person focused on their task. Nari watched them and felt proud. They were scared, she could see it in their faces, but they didn't hesitate. Lieutenant Taeyang sat at the weapons console of the Defiance, his eyes fixed on the railgun control systems. The Mark 7 platform showed green across all indicators. Capacitors charged, magnetic accelerators calibrated, ammunition loaded, everything ready. He had trained on these weapons for 2 years. He had fired them in simulations 1,000 times. But this was different. This was real. In a few minutes, he would fire these guns at living beings. Ships would explode. People would die. His hands shook slightly. Lieutenant? Ji-hun's voice came from behind him. The admiral stood there, his hand on Taeyang's shoulder. How are you doing? Nervous, sir, Taeyang admitted. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. But remember, those ships out there came to conquer us. They destroyed our mining station without warning. They refused every attempt at peace. This isn't murder, Lieutenant. This is survival. Taeyang nodded. His hands stopped shaking. The Hekarian fleet continued its approach. High Commander Vectis stood at the center of his command bridge, watching the tactical display with satisfaction. The human ships had not moved. They held their defensive positions like frightened animals. Distance to weapons range? Vectis asked. 500,000 kilometers, Commander, his tactical officer replied. The humans are within our long-range plasma cannon range. Do you want to fire? Not yet. Let them fire first. Let them waste their ammunition. Let them see how useless their weapons are. Dax Kor stood beside Vectis, studying his own tactical screen. Commander, I'm detecting unusual energy buildups in several human vessels. The power signatures don't match their engines. Their weapons systems, Vectis said dismissively. They're preparing to fire. Let them. On another Hekarian battlecruiser, Captain Calvex prepared his ship for combat. He was young for a commander, eager to prove himself. This was his first major battle, and he wanted to be the one to strike the first blow. Target the human frigate on the left flank, Calvex ordered. That small one. Once the commander gives the order, I want that ship destroyed immediately. His crew acknowledged the order. Calvex smiled. This would be easy. This would be glorious. His name would be remembered. The fleets closed to 400,000 kilometers. Still, the humans did not fire. They're cowards, Calvex said to his tactical officer. Look at them. They're frozen with fear. Perhaps, Captain. But their weapons are charging. They're going to do something. Let them try. At 300,000 kilometers, the human fleet finally responded. Captain Nari received her orders from Fleet Command. All ships, fire conventional weapons, missiles and lasers. Make them think that's all we have. Nari opened a channel to her weapons officer. Fire missiles. Full spread. Target the nearest destroyer. The Indomitable shuddered as 6 missiles launched from their tubes. Across the human fleet, dozens of other ships did the same. Hundreds of missiles streaked toward the Hecarian formation, their engines burning bright in the darkness. The Hecarians watched the missiles approach. Their point defense systems activated automatically. Laser turrets tracked the incoming projectiles. Small plasma cannons fired in rapid succession. The missiles never reached their targets. The Hecarian defenses destroyed them one by one. Explosions blossomed in space. Brief flowers of fire that faded quickly. Calvex laughed. Is that the best they can do? Slow missiles with primitive tracking? My child could shoot down those weapons. He opened a communication channel to the human fleet, broadcasting on all frequencies. Humans, is this your great defense? We thought you would at least provide entertainment. Instead, you give us target practice. Surrender now, and we will make your deaths quick. On the Defiance, Ji-hoon listened to Kalavex's mocking message. He allowed himself a small smile. Sir, the Hecarians are responding, his communications officer said. They're sending a reply. Let me hear it. Vectis's voice came through. Admiral Ji-hoon of Earth, this is your final opportunity. Order your fleet to stand down. Power down your weapons. Prepare to be boarded. Resist further, and we will show no mercy. Ji-hoon stood up from his command chair. He straightened his uniform. He thought about Earth, about Mars, about every human colony scattered across the stars, about his daughter, somewhere back on Earth, probably watching this on the news. He opened a return channel. Hi, Commander Vectis. This is Admiral Ji-hoon. You came to our home. You threatened our people. You destroyed our property. And now you demand our surrender. He paused. Every human ship could hear him. Every person on Earth could hear him. I have a counteroffer. Ji-hoon continued. Turn your ships around. Leave our space. Never return. Do this, and we'll let you live. For a moment, there was silence. Then Vectis's laughter came through the channel. You're either brave or insane. Admiral. Very well. We gave you a chance. Now you'll see what happens to species who defy the Dominion. The channel closed. Distance? Ji-hoon asked. 200,000 kilometers, sir. Perfect. Ji-hoon opened a fleet-wide channel. All ships. This is it. They came here expecting easy prey. They upgraded their armor to protect themselves. They think their shields will save them. They're wrong. We're going to show them what happens when you underestimate humanity. He turned to Taeyang. Lieutenant, you may fire when ready. Taeyang's hands moved across his console. On the Defiance and 40 other human warships, railgun capacitors reached full charge. Magnetic accelerators hummed with barely contained power. Tungsten carbide slugs sat in firing chambers. Waiting. Target lock acquired on Hecarian battlecruiser Alpha 7, Taeyang reported. His voice was steady now, calm. Railgun 1 ready. Railgun 2 ready. All batteries ready. Fire, Ji-hoon said quietly. Taeyang pressed the firing button. The Defiance shuddered as its railguns discharged. Tungsten slugs, each weighing 10 kilograms, accelerated through electromagnetic coils at impossible speeds. In less than a second, they reached 4% the speed of light. They crossed the distance to the Hecarian fleet. In microseconds, across the human line, 40 other ships fired simultaneously. 160 railgun slugs launched toward the alien formation. On the Hecarian ships, sensors detected the incoming projectiles. But the sensors were designed to track missiles and energy weapons. They couldn't process the data fast enough. The slugs were too small, too fast, moving at speeds that seemed impossible for physical objects. Warning alarms sounded. Tactical officers shouted alerts. Point defense systems tried to activate. Too late. The first slug hit Calavex's battlecruiser directly amidship. The Hecarian shields, designed to dissipate energy weapons, did nothing against solid matter moving at 12,000 kilometers per second. The slug passed through the shield as if it didn't exist. Then, it hit the armor. The triple-layer composite plating that Calvex had been so proud of conducted the kinetic energy like a bell struck by a hammer. The outer layer crumpled, the middle layer shattered, The inner layer transmitted a shockwave through the entire ship structure. Bulkheads collapsed. Power conduits exploded. The ship's frame twisted and buckled. Hull plating tore away in massive sections. Atmosphere vented into space in explosive decompression. Calavex had 1 second to realize what was happening. 1 second to understand his mistake. Then his ship tore itself apart around him. The slug exited through the other side of the battlecruiser. The ship broke into 3 large pieces and dozens of smaller fragments. Secondary explosions rippled through the wreckage as power cores overloaded. It took 4 seconds from impact to total destruction, and that was just one ship. 159 other slugs found their targets. Hecarian battlecruisers and destroyers shattered like glass struck by hammers. The vaunted armor that was supposed to protect them instead became their executioner, channeling catastrophic energy through their hulls. In the space of 90 seconds, 30 Hecarian battlecruisers ceased to exist. The human fleet fired again, and again, and again. The line held. The massacre had begun. High Commander Vectis staggered as his flagship shook violently. Warning alarms screamed throughout the bridge. Display screens showed impossible data. 37 ships destroyed, 42 more critically damaged. All in less than 2 minutes. "What's happening?" Vectis shouted. "Report!" His tactical officer's voice was panicked. "Commander, the human projectiles are passing through our shields. The armor isn't stopping them, it's making it worse. The kinetic energy is—" The ship shook again. A slug had struck the vessel 3 sections aft. The shock wave traveled through the hull. Vectis fell to the floor as the deck tilted. "Return fire," he ordered. "All weapons. Destroy those human ships." The Hecarian fleet tried to respond. Plasma cannons charged. Energy weapons targeted human vessels. But the aliens had advanced slowly, arrogantly, into optimal range for the railguns. Now they were caught in a killing field. Another salvo launched from the human fleet. More tungsten slugs crossed the distance at impossible speeds. More Hecarian ships exploded from the inside out. Daxkor clung to his console, his 4 eyes wide with terror. "Commander, we need to retreat. Now. We're being slaughtered." "We are the Hecarian Dominion," Vectis roared. "We do not retreat from primitives." As if to answer him, a railgun slug struck the flagship's command tower. The impact point was 50 meters below the bridge. The kinetic energy transferred through the structure like lightning through metal. The ceiling buckled. Support beams collapsed. Vectis looked up just in time to see a massive piece of debris falling toward him. He tried to move. He was not fast enough. On the Defiance, Lieutenant Taeyang worked with mechanical precision. Target lock. Fire. Reload. Target lock. Fire. Reload. Each cycle took 12 seconds. Each cycle destroyed a ship or crippled it beyond repair. "Battlecruiser destroyed," he reported calmly. "Targeting destroyer cluster Gamma 4. Firing." The railgun discharged. 2 seconds later, 3 destroyers that had been flying in close formation shattered simultaneously. The slug had passed through all 3. The kinetic energy transferring from one to the next. Admiral Jihun stood behind Taeyang, watching the carnage unfold. Part of him felt sick. This was slaughter. But another part, the part that had seen the Hecarians destroy the mining station, that had heard Vectis's arrogant demands, felt nothing but cold satisfaction. "Sir, the Hecarian flagship is venting atmosphere," the tactical officer reported. "Multiple hull breaches. I think we got their command center. Confirm the kill and move to the next target," Jihun ordered. "We're not done yet." Captain Nari guided the Indomitable through the chaos. Her frigate was fast and maneuverable. While the larger human ships provided the main firepower, her job was to prevent any Hecarian vessels from escaping. "Captain, 3 Hecarian destroyers are breaking formation," her tactical officer said. "They're trying to run." "Pursuit course," Nari ordered. "Maximum speed. Get us in railgun range." "I'm in railgun range." The Indomitable accelerated. Its smaller railgun might not be as powerful as the ones on the battleships, but it was still more than enough. "Target lock on the lead destroyer," the weapons officer said. "Fire." The frigate's railgun spoke once. The leading destroyer's engines exploded as the slug passed through them. The ship went spinning out of control, colliding with one of its companions. Both vessels tumbled away, trailing debris and frozen atmosphere. Second, target locked. Fire. The third destroyer tried to dodge. It was too slow. The slug caught it in the midsection. The ship folded in half like paper. "All targets neutralized, Captain," the weapons officer reported. Nari allowed herself a tight smile. "Find me more targets. No one leaves this battle." Aboard what remained of the Hekarion fleet, panic spread like disease. Ship captains who had expected easy victory now watched their vessels die around them. The prideful armor, that had seemed so impenetrable, became a liability. Each impact transferred energy more efficiently, causing more damage, killing more crew. Kalavex's second-in-command, who had survived when his ship broke apart, drifted in a damaged escape pod. Through the pod's small window, he watched the battle continue. He saw a human ship impossibly small compared to Hekarian battlecruisers fire a single shot that destroyed 3 of his fleet's vessels. He understood now. The humans hadn't upgraded their weapons because they didn't need to. They had never forgotten the basic laws of physics. Kinetic energy didn't care about technological advancement. A rock thrown fast enough could destroy a starship. The Hekarions had spent centuries perfecting their energy shields. They had layered their armor until it could withstand plasma weapons that could melt planets. But they had forgotten about simple kinetic force, and now they were paying for that mistake with their lives. Daxkor had taken command of the fleet after Vectis died. He stood on the bridge of his own ship, the Eternal Strength, and made the hardest decision of his life. "All ships," he broadcast on the fleet channel. "Retreat. I repeat, retreat. Engage hyperspace drives. Get out of range of their weapons." Some ships responded immediately. Others hesitated, unwilling to run from beings they had considered primitives just minutes ago. Those that hesitated died. The human railguns kept firing. Each shot was precise. Each shot was deadly. The weapon systems that the Hekarians had mocked as outdated technology tore through their fleet like a scythe through wheat. Dr. Hyun watched from the Defiance's weapons lab. The railguns were performing even better than his simulations had predicted. The Hekarion armor was conducting the kinetic energy more efficiently than he had calculated. Each impact caused cascading failures throughout the target ship's structure. "It's beautiful," he whispered. Then he felt ashamed. He was watching people die. But they had come to conquer Earth. They had given humanity no choice. "Dr. Hyun," Ji-hoon's voice came through his communicator. "Status on the railgun systems? All platforms operating at peak efficiency, Admiral. Capacitors are recycling faster than expected. We can maintain this rate of fire indefinitely." "Good. Because they're trying to run." Captain Nari pursued the fleeing Hekarian ships with ruthless efficiency. Her frigate was faster than the alien battlecruisers. The heavy armor that had seemed like such an advantage now weighed them down, making them slow and easy targets. "Captain, we have 4 destroyers trying to reach minimum safe distance for hyperspace," her tactical officer said. "How long until they can jump?" 30 seconds. "We have 20 seconds to intercept. Weapons, I need 4 shots in 20 seconds. Can you do it?" Her weapons officer looked at her, smiled. "Watch me." The Indomitable's railgun fired 4 times in 18 seconds. 4 slugs, 4 hits, 4 destroyed ships. The last destroyer exploded just as its hyperspace drive was engaging. The energy release from the damaged drive created a brilliant flash that lit up the darkness like a small sun. Across the battlefield, the story repeated. Human frigates chased down fleeing Hekarion vessels. The larger human battleships targeted the enemy capital ships that were trying to organize a retreat. The orbital defense platforms fired on anything that came within range. The Hekarion fleet, which had numbered 250 ships, was being reduced to scrap metal. Some alien vessels managed to reach safe distance and engage their hyperspace drives. They vanished into faster-than-light travel, running for their lives. But they were the lucky ones. Most didn't make it. Daxkor's ship shuddered as another human salvo missed by a few hundred meters. The near miss was still close enough to send fragments of a destroyed destroyer slamming into his hull. "Hyperspace drive status?" he demanded. "Charging, Commander. 20 seconds. Those were the longest 20 seconds of Daxkor's life. Around him, his crew worked frantically. Warning alarms sounded. Damage reports streamed in. The ship shook continuously as debris from other vessels impacted the hull. 10 seconds, the helmsman called out. A human railgun fired. The slug passed 50 meters from Daxkor's ship. It struck a nearby destroyer instead, reducing it to spinning fragments. 5 seconds. Another shot. This one missed by 20 meters. Daxkor could see the projectile on the sensors, a tiny object moving at impossible speed, carrying the energy of a nuclear weapon. Engaging hyperspace. The universe twisted. The eternal strength dropped into faster-than-light travel. The battle vanished. Daxkor collapsed into his command chair, his body shaking. They had survived. Barely. But most of the fleet had not. The battle lasted 47 minutes from first shot to last. When it ended, the human fleet held the battlefield. Around them floated the debris of 173 Hecarian vessels. 77 ships had managed to escape to hyperspace, most of them damaged. The human losses were minimal. 6 ships destroyed, mostly from desperate ramming attempts by dying Hecarian vessels. 14 ships damaged but repairable. On the Defiance, Admiral Ji-hoon stood at the observation window, looking at the debris field. Thousands of Hecarian soldiers and crew had died in the last hour. He felt no joy in the victory. But he felt no guilt either. They had come to conquer. They had threatened Earth. They had refused peace. This was the result. Lieutenant Taeyang left his weapons console and approached Ji-hoon. "Sir? The railguns are powered down. All targets are either destroyed or fled." "We won." Ji-hoon turned to look at his young weapons officer. "Yes, Lieutenant. We won. But the war isn't over. Those ships that escaped will report what happened here. The Hecarian Dominion will know that humanity can defend itself. Is that good, sir?" Ji-hoon smiled grimly. "We're about to find out." 3 months after the Battle of Neptune, Ambassador Yuna sat in a conference room aboard the space station Unity. Across the table from her were representatives from 7 different alien species. All of them wanted to talk about the same thing. "Let me be clear," said the Torvan ambassador, a tall being with blue skin and 6 arms. "The Hecarian Dominion controlled this entire sector. They had the most powerful fleet in known space, and your species destroyed them in less than an hour. 47 minutes, Yuna corrected. "And we didn't destroy them. We defeated their invasion fleet. There's a difference." The Torvan ambassador made a sound that might have been laughter. "Ambassador Yuna, the Hecarians suffered 90% casualties. Their high commander died. Their fleet is crippled. Other species in this sector are declaring independence from the Dominion as we speak. You didn't just win a battle. You changed the entire balance of power." Yuna kept her expression neutral. But inside she felt a mix of pride and concern. The victory at Neptune had made humanity famous across the galaxy. But fame could be dangerous. "What do you want?" she asked directly. "A defensive alliance," said the ambassador from Kelris, a small species that had been conquered by the Hecarians 30 years ago. "We want Earth's protection. In exchange, we offer technology, resources, and trade." "Same for us," said the Torvan, "and the Mirans, and the Soloth. All of us want the same thing, a chance to stand against the Dominion, with Earth at our side." Yuna leaned back in her chair. "Let me talk to my government. But understand this. Earth won't become another empire. We'll defend our friends. But we won't conquer. We won't occupy. Is that clear?" All 7 ambassadors agreed immediately. On Earth, Admiral Ji-hoon walked through the orbital shipyard above Mars. All around him, workers built new ships. Not just frigates and destroyers anymore. Now they were building something bigger. "The Unconquered," said the shipyard director, gesturing to the massive vessel taking shape in the construction bay. Our first dreadnought, 300 meters long, 16 railgun turrets. Armor designed to withstand anything, and power systems that can fire all weapons simultaneously. Ji-hoon studied the ship's frame. It was beautiful in a deadly way. How long until completion? 6 months. We're building 5 more just like it. Earth Defense Fleet will have a capital ship division within a year. And the other ships? 50 new frigates under construction, 20 destroyers, all equipped with Mark 9 railguns. The director smiled. Dr. Hyun's new design. 20% more powerful than the Mark 7. These weapons can hit targets from 3 light seconds away. Ji-hoon nodded. After Neptune, Earth had stopped hiding its technological capabilities. The galaxy now knew that human railguns were the most destructive weapons in known space. Some species wanted to buy them, others wanted to ban them. Has there been any response from the Hecarian homeworld? Ji-hoon asked. Yes, sir. They sent a diplomatic envoy last week. They're offering a peace treaty. Full reparations for the mining station. Recognition of all human territorial claims. And they want to establish trade relations. They want to make sure we don't come after them, Ji-hoon said. Yes, sir. That's exactly what they want. In the weapons lab on Earth's moon, Dr. Hyun worked on something new. The Mark 9 railgun was already being mass-produced. Now he was designing the Mark X. His assistant, a young woman named Ina, watched over his shoulder. Dr. Hyun, the Mark 9 can punch through any known armor. What more do we need? Hyun looked up from his designs. Ina, we just proved that we can defend ourselves. But defense isn't enough. We need to project power. We need weapons that can strike at long range, that can destroy targets in orbit, that can make any potential enemy think twice before threatening Earth. You're talking about strategic weapons. I'm talking about insurance, Hyun said. The galaxy knows we can fight now. But we need to make sure they know we can win any fight they start. He pulled up a new design. This is the Mark X. Same basic principle, electromagnetic acceleration of a kinetic projectile. But this one is mounted on a planetary platform. It can fire slugs at 6% light speed. And it has enough power to target ships at the edge of a solar system. Ina studied the design. This is a weapon that could destroy entire fleets. Yes, Hyun said quietly. That's exactly what it is. Across the galaxy, military strategists scrambled to understand what happened at Neptune. In weapons labs and tactical centers on 100 worlds, scientists ran simulations and updated their threat assessments. The conclusion was always the same. Traditional armor was now obsolete. Energy shields were still useful against energy weapons. But they did nothing against kinetic projectiles moving at relativistic speeds. And heavy armor just made things worse. The arms race began. Some species started developing anti-kinetic point defense systems. Others worked on shield technologies that could deflect solid matter. A few abandoned armor entirely, building fast, agile ships that could dodge rather than absorb fire. But everyone agreed on one thing. Humanity had changed warfare forever. Captain Nari sat in the captain's chair of the Unconquered, even though the ship was still 3 months from completion. Admiral Ji-hoon had personally selected her to command the dreadnought. At 32, she would be the youngest dreadnought captain in human history. Captain Nari, you have visitors, said the construction supervisor. Nari turned to see Admiral Ji-hoon walking across the unfinished bridge, followed by Ambassador Yuna and Commander Minho. Admiral, Nari stood and saluted. I wasn't expecting you. At ease, Captain. I wanted to see how the ship was coming along. Ji-hoon looked around the bridge. Workers welded hull plates and installed control systems. This is what we fought for at Neptune. The right to build our own future. Sir, I heard the Hecarians offered peace, Nari said. They did, Yuna confirmed. They're terrified. They've never lost a fleet battle before. They don't know how to handle it. Other species are taking advantage of their weakness. The Dominion is losing colonies every week. Commander Minho spoke up. And that's creating opportunities for us. I'm leading an expedition to the Galactic core. 6 species want to meet with us. They want to see the humans who defeated the Hecarians. Be careful, Ji-hoon warned. Not everyone will see us as liberators. Some will see us as a threat. I know, Minho said. But we can't hide anymore. The galaxy knows we exist. We need to find out who our friends are. Ji-hoon nodded. He turned to Nari. Captain, when this ship is complete, you'll take it on a tour of our allied systems. Show them that Earth stands with its friends. Show potential enemies that we're not afraid. Yes, sir, Nari said. Ji-hoon looked out through the observation window at Earth, hanging beautiful and blue in the distance. 3 months ago, we were just trying to survive. Now we're negotiating alliances, building dreadnoughts, and changing how the galaxy thinks about warfare. Sometimes I wonder if we're moving too fast. Sir? Nari asked. We proved we could fight, Ji-hoon said. Now we need to prove we can lead. That's going to be much harder. On the edge of human space, a sleek alien ship dropped out of hyperspace. It was unlike any vessel humanity had encountered before, smooth and organic-looking, covered in sensors and communication arrays. Inside the ship, an alien being studied the data about humanity. This being was called Tavan. It represented the Koranath Concordat, an ancient alliance that controlled the galactic core. The Concordat had been watching the younger species of the galaxy for thousands of years, rarely interfering. But the Battle of Neptune had caught their attention. Tavan reviewed the battle recordings that had spread across the galaxy. It watched human ships destroy Hecarian battlecruisers with impossible efficiency. It studied the technical specifications of the railgun weapons. It analyzed the tactical decisions Admiral Ji-hoon had made. Impressive. The humans had taken basic physics and turned it into art. They had fought smart, not just hard. Tavan sent a message to the Concordat Council. The humans are worth meeting. They have the potential to become either valuable allies or dangerous enemies. We should establish contact. The Council's response came back quickly. Proceed with first contact protocols. Learn what we can. Determine if they're ready for the larger galaxy. Tavan set course for Earth. The humans would be surprised by the visit. But the Concordat had been surprised by humanity first. That was fair. Back on Earth, Dr. Hyun received a message from an old colleague. It was marked urgent. Hyun, you need to see this, the message said. We've been monitoring galactic communications. There's a new ship heading toward Earth. It's not like anything in our databases. The design is ancient, thousands of years old. And it's broadcasting a greeting in multiple languages, including Standard Human. Hyun pulled up the transmission. A melodic voice spoke. Greetings to humanity from the Koranath Concordat. We wish to establish diplomatic relations. We have watched your recent actions with interest. The galaxy is larger than you know, and you have much to learn. Hyun immediately forwarded the message to Ji-hoon and Yuna. The responses came back within minutes. Ji-hoon, prepare our best ships. If they're friendly, we welcome them. If not, we defend Earth. Yuna, finally, someone who actually wants to talk. I'll prepare a diplomatic team. In the conference room on Unity Station, Yuna met with her staff. Everything has changed, she told them. 3 months ago, we were fighting for survival. Now we're building alliances, expanding our fleet, and making contact with ancient alien civilizations. We've gone from unknown to important in less than a season. Is that good? Asked one of her assistants. Yuna smiled. It's terrifying, but it's better than extinction. She looked at the star map on the wall. Humanity's territory was marked in blue. Allied species in green. Neutral territories in yellow. The Hecarian Dominion, once shown in red covering a vast area, was now fragmented and shrinking. We didn't start this, Yuna said. The Hecarians came to us. They demanded surrender. They forced us to fight. But we won. And now we have to figure out what to do with that victory. 1. What do you think we should do? The assistant asked. Build something better, Yuna said. The galaxy has been dominated by empires for too long. Maybe humanity can offer something different. Partnership instead of conquest. Alliance instead of domination. That's idealistic. Maybe. But someone has to try. Aboard the Unconquered's unfinished bridge, Nari looked at the tactical displays. The ship's weapon systems showed as green across the board. 16 railgun turrets. Point defense lasers. Missile batteries. All the armor and power systems to use them effectively. This ship could destroy an entire fleet, she said to her first officer. Yes, Captain. That's what dreadnoughts are for. I hope we never have to use it, Nari said. But I'm glad we have it. She thought about the Battle of Neptune. She remembered watching Hecarian ships tear themselves apart as human railguns struck them. She remembered the fear, and the adrenaline, and the satisfaction of survival. We changed everything, she said. The galaxy will never be the same. No, Captain. It won't. Far from Earth, on the Hecarian homeworld, the Dominion Council met in emergency session. They had just received the casualty reports from Neptune. They had just watched their empire begin to crumble. They had just realized that they were no longer the most powerful military force in their sector. What do we do? One council member asked. We adapt, said the new High Commander. We redesign our ships. We develop new tactics. We make peace with humanity while we rebuild. And we never underestimate them again. They're primitives, another council member protested. They were primitives, the High Commander corrected. Now, they're the species that destroyed our fleet. That makes them equals. Perhaps even superiors. We need to accept that reality. The council voted. The decision was unanimous. The Hecarian Dominion would sue for peace. They would pay reparations. They would open trade relations. And they would never, ever threaten Earth again. On Earth, Admiral Jihun stood in his office, looking at the wall of medals and commendations. They had given him every honor they could after Neptune. Hero of Earth. Savior of humanity. Victor of Neptune. He didn't feel like a hero. He felt like a man who had done what was necessary. His communicator chimed. Admiral. The Koranath ship has entered the solar system. They're requesting permission to approach Earth. Grant permission, Jihun said. Send them coordinates for orbit. Tell Ambassador Yuna they're here. He looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, the galaxy was changing. Old empires were falling. New alliances were forming. And humanity was at the center of it all. They armored their ships, Jihun said to himself. They thought it would save them. Instead, it destroyed them. He smiled. It was a lesson the galaxy had learned the hard way. Physics didn't care about pride or power. A railgun slug moving at 4% light speed would destroy anything in its path. The more armor you added, the worse the destruction. The Hecarians had made that mistake. Their ships had become scrap metal, and humanity had become a power that no one could ignore. The galaxy had changed. The old equations of power no longer worked, and Earth had written the new ones in tungsten and kinetic energy. The age of humanity had begun.